In the Heart of the Word, Reflections by Father Joseph Mary, SCTJM, on the daily readings from the Holy Mass. Tuesday of the 30th week of Ordinary Time.
God bless you, dear family. Today in the Heart of the Word, we hear what may be the most beautiful description of the vocation of holy matrimony ever written. St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verses 21 to 33. In our own time, the words may seem rather controversial, but let us begin with one observation. Notice that St. Paul is addressing both men and women when in verse 21 he says, "Be subordinate to one another out of reverence for Christ." So the verses are speaking about the mutual subordination of husband and wife, a wife to her husband and a husband to his wife, and both to Christ. A second observation, Paul speaks to women first. The structure and movement of the text resemble those of Aristotle and other ancient philosophers, but with one major difference. Paul begins by speaking to women. Now, this had never happened before in ancient texts. St. Paul acknowledges the dignity of women in the order of faith, through whom their husbands very likely found the Lord. Now, let us begin with the men. Paul says, "Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church, for whom he gave himself over for her." Paul uses the same verb here that is used in the Passion, when Jesus is handed over to be crucified. This is a love of total self-donation. It is a Eucharistic love. To be able to live with those words of Christ, "This is my body given up for you. This is my blood shed for you." What a calling for men. My brothers, renew your commitment to the Lord and to your wife by becoming a living Eucharist for her. Now, in this light, Paul says to the women, as the church is subordinate to Christ, so wives to their husbands. This means to freely place yourself under your husband for your own protection, and to receive him as you would receive the Lord, open to the blessings of life. When this mutual subordination takes place between husband and wife, something marvelous happens. St. Paul writes this, "For this reason a man leaves father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. But this is a great mystery, and I refer to Christ and the church." My brothers and sisters, sacramental marriage reveals in some way, however small and hidden, the truth of the universal and everlasting marriage of Christ and the church. Now, we are all aware that so many marriages are broken, and in some way all of our families have suffered. But let us trust that the Lord will bring a greater triumph today through the power of his cross and the work of his sacraments, and through our prayerful conversion, that with his mercy and by his grace, the truth about marriage will be believed and received, revealed, restored, and ultimately lived for the glory of God, and that many hearts may know his love. Let us listen to these words of Mother Adela. The greatest dignity of the human heart is its capacity to freely choose to love. It is your dignity as spouses to have been able to choose your husband or to choose your wife, and have chosen because you love one another. It is your dignity and responsibility to protect this love from all the interior or exterior forces that oppose and weaken love. My brothers and sisters, let us each today seek to protect the vocation of love entrusted to us, and let us pray for the healing, the restoration, and the gospel of marriage. All for the heart of Jesus, through the heart of Mary.